The book that I read is called What the Dog Saw by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell was an author of The New Yorker, and he made a lot of books where he compiled some of his most interesting essays that he wrote for the publication. So this book doesn't really have a coherent storyline because each essay is in essence its own story. There are different parts of the book though that have coherent themes. The first part of the book talks about people and businesses that became extremely successful and why, and it's the part of the book that I'm going to be highlighting. The main theme of these essays is that these people and businesses had a way of looking at the situation from a different angle that no one had ever thought of before, and that's why they became so successful. So the essay that I'm going to be talking about is in the first part called Ketchup Conundrum, where we talk about our favorite condiment, ketchup. Well, you might not realize that ketchup is one of the weirdest, most confusing things that we sell at our grocery stores. But to really understand its weirdness, we have to look at some of the other products on the shelf. Now, a long time ago, a man named Howard Moskowitz was hired by Pepsi because Pepsi found a new artificial sweetener that they wanted to use in their Diet Pepsi, which is their new product. Now, Markowitz really wanted to find out the right amount of sweetener that they should use in the Diet Pepsi to appeal to the most amount of people, hence make the most money. But when he did the tests with a bunch of different batches, with a bunch of different sweetnesses, with a bunch of different people, the data was all over the place and they couldn't figure out why. Until Markowitz found out that the perfect way to sell Diet Pepsi was not to find the perfect Diet Pepsi, but to find the perfect Diet Pepsis. Moskowitz's thinking was soon put into action when he got a call from Campbell's Soup Company. They wanted to create a product to rival Ragu, which was the reigning champion over the spaghetti sauce market at the time. They wanted to make a new product called Prego, but they didn't really know what to put in the sauce to make people want to buy Prego over Ragu. So Moskowitz took some data. He did the same kind of testing he did with Pepsi. He created different sauces and gave it to a bunch of different people and recorded the results for what was their favorite sauce. The data, again, was all over the place until he realized the people's reactions to their favorite sauce fell into three main categories: normal, spicy, and chunky. What was so revolutionary about this is there was no such thing as chunky spaghetti sauce up until this point. A whole new market of people that they could persuade to buy spaghetti sauce had just been discovered. These people had been buying normal spaghetti sauce up to this point, and now that this favorite sauce had been discovered, this entire new market of making a variety of products to please a variety of people was just a new concept that Prego used to increase their market. Soon every sauce company, including Ragu and Newman's Own, were creating this kind of variety of products to please their customers. This concept also worked with mustard. For a long time, French's was the only kind of mustard that you could get at a grocery store. Its classic yellow vinegary taste was what people liked to put on their sandwiches. The problem was there was a huge group of people out there whose favorite mustard was actually spicy, but they didn't even know it yet until they started making the product and selling it as its own thing. And soon there was hot and sweet mustard and stone ground for hardcore mustard fans that had never just been pleased by the market. So Moskowitz's idea worked. People have different preferences on what kind of food they want, and no one's preference is going to be the same. So the way to really please a market, businesses would create a variety of products to please everyone, so everyone could have the choice of what they wanted. But the question is, why is ketchup different? Why is Heinz still dominating the market when they've had one taste, one variety for the past 150 years? What makes ketchup so weird? Well, that's really the question, isn't it? So the reason that Heinz ketchup has been dominating the market for the past 150 years is because Henry J. Heinz really knew a thing or two about taste. There are 5 major human taste groups: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. You might have never heard of umami because it was relatively recently discovered by a Japanese scientist. The group can be described as the taste of chicken soup or seaweed, that full-body taste that triggers your body to know that there are nutrients present in the food that you're eating. It's been shown time and time again with infants. When presented with a soup that has no umami versus a soup that does, the infant always goes back to the soup that has umami in it because it triggers the body knowing that there are nutrients in this soup that the baby needs to survive. Before Heinz started making his ketchup in the mid-19th century, you really only had 2 options for ketchup. One was gross and watered down because it was made with unripe tomatoes, and one was made with ripe tomatoes, but it had gross preservatives in it that were really harmful to your health. It wasn't until someone invented the idea of preserving the tomatoes with vinegar so you could have fresh tomatoes that were pickled in the ketchup, that things started to change. And Henry J. Heinz really put this in his brand and was the first person to do this. This idea opened a new door so that Henry J. Heinz could make the perfect formula for his new condiment. And what makes ketchup so good is that it covers all 5 of the main human taste groups. With the idea of now pickling the tomatoes using vinegar, they could use ripe tomatoes, which dramatically increased the amount of tomato solids. Tomato solids are a huge, potent source of umami, that hidden taste group that allow people to really be drawn to a food because it triggers your body, indicating that there's a lot amount of nutrients present in the food that you're eating. Next, the vinegar that you're using to pickle the tomatoes really makes the ketchup sour, and it hits your next taste group. And when you're using vinegar and ketchup, you want to combat that sour taste with lots of sugar. So Heinz sweetened his ketchup using corn syrup, which hit your sweet taste group. And the taste of ketchup always has been bitter and salty, even before they were able to use vinegar to pickle the tomatoes. And with this perfect condiment, all 5 of your primal buttons are being pushed when you eat it. So it appeals to pretty much everyone, especially children and infants, because it signals to them that this is a food that is safe to eat. This is why ketchup has stayed the same for the last 150 years, because Henry J. Heinz created the perfect formula. It follows all your 5 groups, and any variety would just confuse everyone and make it not taste as good. There's no better version of this ketchup that exists so far, and every other company that's tried to make something like that has failed because Heinz is still dominating the market. And that's why ketchup is so perplexing. I mean, it's so similar to mustard and spaghetti sauce. We think of mustard and ketchup as kind of similar things because we use them in our hot dogs and fries and junk food. But there's a huge variety of mustard that appeals to a lot of different people, and only one ketchup. And the same with spaghetti sauce. There's so many different spaghetti sauces, and everyone has a different favorite. And it's just more tomatoes being pickled with vinegar and other things, but for a reason that even Malcolm Gladwell can't explain. People only like one kind of ketchup. And that's what I think Malcolm Gladwell was getting at in this essay. There's a certain genius behind the people that pioneered these products, with Howard Moskowitz's idea to create a variety to please a variety of markets, and Henry J. Heinz's ability to create a formula to please every person. These people have been successful because they looked at the situations they were given from a different angle and were able to please all people and all taste groups. And according to these gentlemen, thinking from a different angle is probably your greatest key to success, at least when thinking about condiments.